This is Frenita Amerman, and welcome to Just Black and White TV. I'm black and he's white, but that's not actually what the show is about. It just happens to be the case.
But before we go any further, just so we know, if I'm white, this is white. I'll never understand that. This is white. This is not white. As a matter of fact, because of what we did yesterday, which was really cool, I'm actually red from the sun. So today you could say Just Black and White with red and Frenita. But I'm excited to be on the show.
Okay, so the show is really, it was just a pun, but the show is really about being honest, keeping things real, you know, black and white, no gray areas, not hanging around in the middle. It is what it is, right?
Yeah, well, and a lot of people do hang out in the gray area when they're non-committal. So I think this show is going to be awesome because we're going to be talking about real subjects. And it's not just business, even though Entrepreneurs International, of course, you think entrepreneur, the word leads to business, but it's life. It's being a parent, being a spouse, being a friend, being a child, just all of those things, and of course business as well. So I'm really excited because we get to wake people up and make people aware, which is something that why we've had success in our lives, in our relationship and in business, because somebody and things made us aware.
Exactly. So with that, let's go ahead and bring in our first clip. And this being our first show, which is so very exciting because we've been talking for a long time. Greg likes to do a lot of talking. So we're actually going to do something. And this first clip is about our trek, starting a new adventure. This is a new adventure for us. We've been on a lot of adventures, 21 years together. And this is another one, and I'm very excited about it. And we get to have some other great people along with us on this adventure, which you'll get a chance to meet. But we actually went to Stone Mountain here. We're in Georgia, and Stone Mountain is a place I like to go to a lot. It's a trek, it is an adventure, and it has a lot of things that are in common with life and business. So let's go ahead and roll to that clip and get you guys introduced to our first segment of Just Black and White. Dude, Joe, what are you doing? Come on.
I'm coming, man. I got a rock in my shoe.
Well, why not? I mean, you got a rock in your shoe. I mean, take it out.
No, it's not as easy as you think. I've known this rock for a long time. My whole life I've had this rock.
So you have a rock in your shoe.
Yeah.
This I guess, equivalent to a person in your life that has made you walk like you have a serious limp and gimp, slowing you down, and you're keeping it in there.
But at first it didn't really hurt that bad, so I'm like, okay, this is gonna be okay, but it's just, I'll be good, I'm fine, I'm good. I just didn't want to hold you guys up, let's go.
Well, I mean, you are holding yourself because you're moving slow. You just gotta take it out.
Take the rock out?
Take the rock out.
Listen, it's funny how people are. Like, I know we have these friends or we like them potentially, but if they're negative, if they're, you know, a weight in a sense, or in worse, if they're in your shoe, meaning like they're grinding your foot down and causing you pain, it's hard enough to succeed when you have solid rock. And then you have these little pebbles along the way. And remember, rocks come in all sizes. I think people expect like, oh, it's got to be a huge rock for me to recognize it's a problem in my life and to get rid of that. But any rock in your life that is causing you pain, harming you, preventing you, I think we probably hate to get rid of it, but man, we got to get rid of it.
Yeah, you definitely have to.
You're probably right. I guess it doesn't really mean that much to me. It is kind of a pretty rock, though. Oh.
But isn't it amazing how a little rock, just a little rock like that, can really be such a hindrance to your success? I mean, look at that. And that was making you limp.
But it looks good.
And you've had it a long time.
Right, it's a pain, literally and figuratively.
So what do you think I should do with it?
Toss it.
You get rid of it out of your life.
Just toss it, get rid of it.
Maybe somebody else will pick it up? All right, I'll toss it out there then.
I hope people don't take this the wrong way, but it's like, we're not like trying to get rid of people out of your life. We're just trying to use the example of you gotta realize, like, I've had to get rid of people out of my lives. I remember even, and obviously I have my lovely wife here, but you know the story when I was dating a young lady, and I started out on my first endeavor ever. And I was really into it, passionate and excited, and, you know, working long hours and making it happen. And I come home one day and she goes, we gotta talk. And she says, you know, Greg, there's nothing wrong with being average. I'm like, what? There's nothing wrong with being average? That's a rock, man. I can't take that with me. How am I gonna climb to the top of the mountain with somebody who's weighting me down and causing me to slow down and maybe even stop? So sometimes it may have to be somebody you love if they're doing that. But, you know, obviously you try to make it work. Maybe that rock would not want to be a pain. So I think, you know, you could talk to that friend, that negative friend, and maybe try to make it work. But if that person is going to be a pain and cause you to not live your life the way you want to, then yeah, you got to get rid of it, unfortunately.
I don't think anything's wrong with that. You know, I talk about it when I work with the women in Polished, is sometimes, you know, it's okay to be happy. It's okay to design your life the way you want it. And if sometimes you have to redesign your life by getting rid of rocks, then that's okay. Because you have one life. It should be as happy and as full of joy as you want it, not filled with a bunch of rocks or people who are weighing you down, trying to stop you and cripple you along the way. Why? You have one life. Live it how you want, happy. That's what it's about. And my favorite button is delete.
Well, on the mount, we don't have delete, we have throw.
Yeah.
You gotta get rid of it. And what's crazy is it's not as hard as you think. Like, I thought that was gonna kill me to toss that rock out, but once you do it, you realize, wow, you know, that wasn't so bad. I needed to do that, and maybe I needed some people to tell me to do it. And now I'm kind of looking forward to the rest of this climb potentially pain-free.
Yeah, it just feels better. And at the beginning, it might be painful, as you said, but then when you get rid of it, it's a weight that you got rid of, and that was a pebble. And of course you have bigger weights that you're carrying around. Maybe sometimes the closer you are to somebody, you feel it's a bigger rock that you have to get rid of out of your life. But man, think about when you imagine carrying a just giant rock up this mountain and then getting rid of it. How much easier it would be. So you want something that supports you, that helps lift you up, not something that weighs you down. So good that you got rid of that rock.
All right, let's go.
I'm good.
Let's rock and roll.
I'm good.
Well, welcome back. That was, I like to call, there's a pebble in my shoe, and look who's here. Joe, he was in that clip with us. So what did you think about that, Joe?
Well, I thought that you called me out and told me I was holding you up. That's the first thing I thought of. And yeah, every once in a while you get a pebble in there, and at first it doesn't bother you, but after a while it does. You know, but in this case, what I've done is I come up with a permanent solution. No more pebbles in these shoes anymore. Sometimes you just got to adjust, overcome, and change some things up to keep on going.
That is definitely your solution, because I think you own like 100 pairs of flip-flops.
Like 30, not 100. I would never have 100 pairs of flip-flops.
Right, he might have as many flip-flops as U.S. shoes.
Yeah.
Like what, a couple hundred, something like that?
Well, hey, they have to match my outfit. But going back to the clip, I mean, it is definitely something I know I've experienced and you've experienced, is having people in our lives that are uncomfortable or make our lives harder than it should be, because they're not contributing anything. They're not positive, or they're negative, or they're trying to drag us down.
Well, even worse. I mean, and sometimes because you love them. They could be your own family. They could be people you really, really care about, and you'd hate to have to get rid of them out of your life. But you just have to make a decision. I mean, you just got to really think about that analogy. How far was Joe going to get with that pebble in his shoe? And how many of those pebbles can you have in your shoe before your whole foot is chewed off because of it, right? You ain't going very far. So it's one of those tough things about success, and a lot of people don't want to do it, which is why a lot of people won't succeed, is tossing those pebbles out, tossing those rocks, getting rid of it. And you just got to do it if you want to be successful. It's only stick with, you know, good people that lift you up.
Well, sometimes that's one of the hardest things to do. Like when you first get a pebble, you don't even, first of all, the pebble got in the shoe, which I didn't feel the pebble get in. And I didn't even feel it right away. I started feeling it after it started to hurt. But because it started to hurt slowly, it just crept up on me, so I was just dealing with the pain. And then eventually I'm like, oh my gosh, this is killing me. I find myself limping. I watch it, I'm limping, you know, but in the beginning it didn't hurt at all. It's just, you can't get used to that pain. You got to deal with that situation right away because it's going to hold you back.
And you know what also I was thinking about, the pebble could not only just be someone else, it could be your own thoughts. It could be your own attitude. That could be the pebble in your life. So what are you going to do about it? I know when I get a chance to work with different women, because I do a program just for them, or just in general, I mean, life is short at the end of the day. And I think we all just want to be happy people. Yep. So if you keep doing the same things and you find yourself not being happy or not being satisfied or kind of just existing and not living, then you have to get rid of those pebbles which are in your head. And I think those might be even harder sometimes than other people to get rid of. I mean, I have no problem getting rid of people.
Yeah, that's for sure. But the thing about, because it's easier because they're somebody else, like your own thought. What are you going to do? All right, it's out. It's out. You know, it's still there. Your head's there.
It's not you.
Right. You know, you just can't get rid of it. How do I get?
You can't get rid of yourself.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
so,
that's true.
You know, and that's why you got to really plug into like something like what we do, having other elements and things and tools that you could use, trainings and so forth.
And someone can point it out to you sometimes too.
Like
you
even
don't
the
see
ETA program, this whole thing, which is why the show was created, and having something like that to tune into to help to change those thoughts to the right thoughts.
That is true. So one other thing that we noticed as we were climbing up Stone Mountain is that there was a lot of things in our path. And we actually did a clip on that as well. And it's about recognizing solid rocks and loose rocks, because as we were climbing, we had to make a decision where we wanted to step. Because if you step the wrong way, you could fall, you could slip, but it will move. And so let's go to the clip that we did about recognizing solid rocks and loose rocks.
So I was mentioning that there are good rocks in your life and bad rocks in your life on your climb. Like for instance, this is good rock right here. I mean, it's so, where's that going? It's supportive, it's solid, it lifts you up, it doesn't weigh you down. And you can walk on and have zero doubt about the fact that, hey, this is gonna allow me to step up and get to the next level on my climb. And you have people in your life like that that you can count on, that are certain, that are firm and solid behind you. Those are the kind of rocks you want to have in your life, and you want to find more rocks like that because they're the ones that'll help you, almost in a sense, to lift you up on your climb to wherever it is you're going. I mean, I think, you know, we all have certainly rocks in our life like that.
I know definitely my journey has been an interesting one, and if it wasn't for my mom, who has definitely been the rock in my life forever, through all the good, the bad, the hard, when I went through cancer. I mean, that was definitely a hard time in my life, and she was there for me then. I mean, she was just always, I never had to think about whether she was going to be there, whether she was going to stand behind me, if she was going to be negative, because she never was. She was always positive. She always lifted me. She always supported me. She was there for me to lean on 24/7. And when I started my adventure in becoming an entrepreneur, again, she was right there. I didn't have to ask for anything. I didn't have to wonder. I didn't have to contemplate or think about it. It was just, mom is there. It was a given. And that's what a solid rock is. And when you have that, man, does it allow you to get lift and comfort in knowing that no matter what, even if you fall, there's going to be someone there to catch you.
Absolutely, and solid rock gives you confidence, but you mentioned falling. Because when you're climbing and sometimes you have a lot of things coming at you, you may not see everything. Like for instance, sometimes you have solid rock like this, but then, look at this. Then you have a rock that looks kind of like it could be solid, but it's kind of loose there. And And obviously, even at times, you might have been able to step on it before, but is it going to be there when you need it? And some people, they're a rock when it's convenient for them. They're a rock when it's convenient. You got to watch out for people like that, because they could seem like they're a solid rock, they're loyal, they're behind you all the way, but then all of a sudden they're loose like that. I don't know if you want to say sell out or just somebody that is really only there when it benefits them.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of what I was going to say, when it benefits them. And as soon as they see it's not so much of a benefit for them, they turn on you, and it's hard and it hurts sometimes, and you don't want to face that reality because you can't imagine that would ever happen. But what's so cool about being older and having maybe a little bit more wisdom and surrounding yourself with the right people, you get better at judging and knowing when that turn happens and when you need to at that point turn the other way.
Yeah, and sometimes, unfortunately, even if you feel like they're a rock, and they have been even for you at other times, then all of a sudden, that next time, you know, maybe it isn't holding you and now you do fall because of it. You know, and that's just the way it is on your climb. It's just have to recognize that there's gonna be a lot less solid rocks. Like on this mountain, there seems to be a lot more solid rocks, but overall, that isn't the case. Most of the time, the rocks aren't as solid. Find the solid ones, like I got my great solid partners here. I mean, solid as any rock there is. And if you do that, obviously it'll make the climb that much better, faster, and more enjoyable for sure.
That's right.
Absolutely. All right, let's keep climbing.
Yeah.
Watch out for that one.
So what did you think about that, Joe? I mean, there's some great nuggets that we had in there, but of course, the one thing I think the biggest for me, just in life and in general, is being able to recognize it, because sometimes they're solid rocks until they're not.
Yeah, I mean, we've all had it happen to us. And sometimes, man, you are so shocked that it was solid for so long and all of a sudden it's not solid anymore. I mean, something just happened to me recently where I'm like, there's just no way that just happened. There's no way. But I think when you start to recognize it and it happens to you enough times, you start to realize it's going to happen and you can't do anything about it. You just got to move on with your life.
Yeah, and like for me, and I know you've said this to me, especially more over the past few years, Greg, you're just too nice, you know, and you're too trusting. A good friend, Mike Miller, who is a trainer with Entrepreneurs International, actually just said that to me. You're just so trusting, and it is my nature. I mean, I used to be a social worker, so that just, and I never want to get bitter because of it. And so you have to have that ability to stay within that you're not going to be that way, but just being more aware and just really paying attention more to the fact that there's a lot of people out there that are unfortunately going to be those rocks that appear to be one way and then aren't. But then you're going to have those real people, those great people. I love when you talked about your mom, because, and I think for most people, and you see athletes all the time going, thanks, Mom, you know, when they're on the camera. I feel that way about my mom. She's been the ultimate rock from the day I started in my entrepreneurial endeavor, of course, before that, but every step of the way, because I have had many ups, and we've had some great ups together, and we've had some challenges. You know, before we even connected, I had my challenge. My mom was always there every time. She was never, ever a loose rock, that's for sure. Just solid. And man, it makes such a difference when you have that person in your life. It just gives you confidence that you're not alone in your journey, whatever that is.
I agree, and it was the same thing with my mom and my dad. But I think that for me, the difference a little bit was I moved to California from Massachusetts. So when I started to become an entrepreneur, I didn't have the support of my family around me. So I had to connect with like-minded people, like people that wanted success, people that wanted the best for me. And without them, I don't think I could have ever made it. And because of that, I was able to continue to surround myself with those people. And it went from those people to connecting me with my wife. And she's always been such a huge, solid rock for me. You know, going through our ups and downs, which sometimes as an entrepreneur, we all know you're gonna go through ups and downs, and you've got to have that support system, whatever it is. You know, if you don't have the support system in your home or in your family, you got to find it somewhere. and grab onto that support. And in my opinion, that's the only way you're going to make it.
So let me ask you a question really quick, because I know it's definitely can become a struggle when you have had so many loose rocks when they were solid at one time and you thought they were solid, going to be solid forever. So how do you balance it where, because you can get bitter, you can become afraid to trust?
But that's what I was just saying, and what popped in my head is, and I just thought of this, and it's really true, because I've had some really, really good friends, like people, and you're like, this person will be my friend for life, and then all of a sudden you're like, what? That's how they are, that's how they think, that's what they do. They're willing to maybe turn a blind eye to things, or the integrity, or whatever it is. But then I just thought of this. It's like some people are not meant to be in your life your whole life. True. Some people, like, you kind of look at it like, I learned something from that, I gained something from that, it was an experience, it was wisdom, whatever the case might be, but then it helped me. Now maybe that person, again, is never going to be in my life again, because I wouldn't want them in my life, but what I gained during that moment made me a better person. Because there's other people that you lose contact with in your life, and because the relationship was great, they were a solid rock, and then years later, all of a sudden, they're back in your life because they were great. So I kind of just clicked for me that, you know, you kind of don't harp on it, don't focus on it, just, yeah, get past it, but realize, what did I gain during that moment in time that I could take to then utilize to be better?
Well, we just had a similar conversation just the other day because of really where we're at in our career together, what we're doing with EI. And I remember saying to you, just going, Frenita, but I get it, I understand, move on, sounds so easy. And you had made a point, you said sometimes you just gotta take one more shake because things just aren't right. So you gotta shake out just those people per se before you can go on and do bigger and better things. You know, it's almost like, and of course I have dogs, I'm a huge dog person. It's almost like when you wash your dog, and this is probably a weird analogy, but when you wash your dog, like we live on the water in San Diego, so they're wet, we gotta wash them afterwards from the ocean. So we wash them, and I just want them to shake one more time because like they're soaked. And I'm just like, shake, shake, one more time, one more, for 5 minutes sometimes. And finally they'll shake, and now it's time to dry them. I feel like we just went through that.
I'll take your word on that.
You gotta have a dog.
I just can't relate to that because we haven't had dogs, and I never asked our children when they got out of the tub, shake, shake, just shake some more. You know, we just use towels.
Right. But we did use the analogy of a sifter. You know, when we're baking, if you're not a baker, but if you do, if you've seen someone bake, you can't use just the flour like itself. It's the granules are too big. So you got to get it down real fine so your batter's super smooth. And I think that's exactly what just happened to us. And it's not the first time, but I think the higher up we go up the mountain, the closer we get to our goals, the harder it gets, but the people who shouldn't be there, they get sifted out. Yeah. And it's hard.
And the people that should be there are gonna be there.
And they'll be more solid.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Big time solid. That's what you want.
Absolutely. So we have one more clip that we are going to take a look at, and I call it Follow the Path. And I know for me, and I know you and yourself as well, had a path to follow, and it made our endeavors so much easier. I think when people try to start out on a new adventure and they have no path, no direction, no compass, no anything, it would just be so much harder. So for me, when I started my endeavor in business, I started on a path, and I would not want any other way. I don't know about you guys, but we'll talk about it on the way outside of the clip, so watch this. Here we are. Someone has been up this mountain before, so I don't have to figure out where I'm going because they left us a trail. There's a whole trail of yellow lines all the way to the top of the mountain. You know what? That's really cool because I don't have to figure it out. I don't have to worry about getting lost because someone left clues. Hey, this is where you want to go. This is the easiest path to get to your destination. That's exactly what EI is. You have people who've already been to the top of the mountain, become successful already in business and in life, and we're saying, hey, we're leaving you a trail. Here you go. This is the easiest path to get to where you want to go. So why not take that path? Why make things harder when you don't have to? So I just love it. I don't have to worry about it. I can follow it, keep my face forward, keep my eyes on the path, and just make it to the top. It's just a matter of how long will it take me to get there.
And you know what's funny too? Some people though, Frenita, they'll be like, no, I can't do that. I gotta plow my own way because of ego and all this pride that they have. And it's like, isn't the point to get to the top, right? And to enjoy it and to share with others. So I think, you know, when you have an opportunity to have a path, you got to recognize and take advantage of it and have humility. Like I know for me, and I know Joe the same thing and yourself the same thing, it's like I've definitely been guided by other people. I always say, you know, we're not, people try to use this term self-made. I'm a self-made millionaire. Nobody's self-made. We might be homemade, but we ain't self-made. And we've all utilized the efforts of other people to learn and grow and have the ability to climb. So, hey, when you do have a path, don't fight it. Use it.
So I remember when we were on the path, and you made a joke about it actually, because the lines were huge, like the yellow lines were massive. Like you could not miss those yellow lines. You're like, why do they have to paint them so big? They could have just put...
It was almost irritating.
But don't you know by now, it has to be that obvious. I mean,
Well, I know, and I think you said that up there too.
But no matter how obvious it is, some people still stray off the path or they can't find the path. It's like, what do we need to do to, you know, say here it is. It's so simple. It's 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, paint by numbers, and somehow they get off the path.
Well, and it depends who you are, first of all, and what you're doing, because sometimes you'll have to be that unique person, right? There are people that are that very rare person that can venture out and kind of create the beginning of something, but in most instances, that's not the case. You always have an opportunity to learn from others. Franchising is a good example. It's like somebody started a proven business model and you get to take over and have a proven business model that already works. So I think for some people, I don't know, maybe it's ego, maybe it's like we talked about, and they just get in their own way. And that's unfortunate because obviously, especially today, there's so many resources, there's so many opportunities. I mean, think about today, you could go on the internet, just go Google. You never used to be able to do that. So it's kind of the same thing for success. Google, and I even think of that in relation to Entrepreneurs International. That's what we kind of are. We're like, in a sense, Google for some of the life skills you need for success, the attitude, the mindset, the skills, whether it's communication, leadership, sales, building a business. And if that's available, why not take advantage of it? I know that every chance we get to do that, we do. And if there's a better way, a simpler way, just utilize it. Well,
I know when I first started out, even learning about being an entrepreneur, first of all, I had never even heard the word entrepreneur. If we can start right there, I never even heard the word entrepreneur in my whole life up until I was 24 years old. So when I met these people that started me on this path, I just always just wanted a path. Just show me. I didn't even know it existed. I didn't know about personal growth, self-development. I didn't know about entrepreneurism. I didn't know about any of that stuff. So when I found out about it, and it was like, oh, okay, well, follow this path. I wasn't always the best student, but I never varied from that path. Maybe I didn't get up there the quickest, but I always stayed on that path. And eventually it worked out for me. But it's always amazing to me still today that people sometimes when they want a certain thing, we have the path and we can show them that, look, it's already happened for all these people. Just follow and let's just, you know, keep on going. They fight it, but they'll follow somebody else that has nothing to do with what they want. That's always been so shocking to me. They'll follow somebody else that doesn't have what they want, but they fight following somebody that does.
That just makes me think of the statement, success leaves clues. You know, you have to look for the clues, right? And once you know they're there, then take advantage of those clues to move to the next step and the next step and the next step. And my success, without a doubt, has to do with the fact that I had a system and a process. I mean, I can't even tell you how many seminars I went to to over and over and over again, traveling to different parts of the country, because I saw some people that I really respected and looked up to, and they had what I wanted. And if I've always felt like, man, I'm not the smartest person. I don't know if I even should be in business, kind of like I had no business being in business. But if I could get 20% of what these people who are successful, financially independent, if I could get what they're doing and just at 20%, look where I'd be. And it's exactly true. But here's the best part of why learning from others, having coaches, having a process, a system, or something to follow is eventually it becomes a part of who you are. And then if you are going to venture off and do something on your own, you have that subconscious, those habits of success, and then you can apply it to anything you do in your life.
I absolutely agree with that. I know for me, when I first started, I was 24 and never had a background, obviously, in business, being so very young, and I didn't have all the confidence. So having a system that was already in place where I didn't have to try to figure something out, and it was never a concern, because it was someone who had what I wanted, like you were saying. They had what I wanted. They put the system in place, and even though I didn't have confidence, I could lean on the system. I could lean on
me.
Okay, you were the person.
Like, yeah. I'm sitting right next to you. You know what I mean? And I remember.
Okay, well, let's clarify this. When I met Gregg Amerman, we do have the same last name because I married my mentor. Not that I'm telling you that's what you need to do.
It's just helpful. It's helpful. Right.
That's not how you become successful, marry your mentor. But it just happened to be the case that when I saw you, actually I saw you before you saw me, because you were on a stage with, like, I don't know, 20,000 people, and I was in the rafters somewhere. And I was just beginning that endeavor. And I just would never forget thinking, if I could just meet someone like that. I had no clue it would be you, but I just wanted to meet someone who had done it, because he was 32, already a millionaire, already successful, had what I wanted, the mentality, the attitude, the energy, all of those things. And so when I did get a chance to meet you a few years later, I was, of course, it was a no-brainer. I'm like, dude, you got to show me what you did. I don't need to fall in the hole to know I should walk around it. Like, I'm not that person where I have to learn life lessons by making mistakes. I would rather not make any mistakes, if I can, circumvent it by following someone who's already laid a path around all the minefields. And that's exactly what you did for me. And yeah, he even though we ended up dating, he was so hard on me and brutal almost, so that I could become strong enough to stand on my own. And all I know is, thank goodness for that. So
yeah, it was just equal though to everybody. I was like, it wasn't you, obviously, as you know, it was everybody I was hard on a lot. But let me say this, and I think this is really important, is that you have to really want to be coached. It's like I'm coaching, our son's baseball team, and I tell the kids all the time, don't take it personally. We're really only trying to make you better. And when people come from the heart, and you know they come from the heart, take those lessons and use it. We used to have meetings all the time.
I'm sure you did.
Meetings all the time.
I'm sure you did.
Really, Joe? How many times that I said this, if you're at the scene of every crime, it's
probably you. Yeah.
Like all these fires and things. But, eventually you just kept getting more refined and learning communication and gaining confidence and knowing how to communicate with people. And that's why when I think about what you do today and how you impact women and with polished, it's so true, from where you were very rough to polished. It's cool to see, but that has been a great ride, and you're a great example of the process, and I'm a great example of the process and the system that I went through, and Joe is too. So
yeah, I think we all are. It's just surrendering to the process a little bit and getting out of your own way. I know for me, I just wasn't where I wanted to be, and I saw people that were where I wanted to be, and I figured if I follow their lead, I could eventually get there, and it's worked out just fine.
Yes.
I think it worked out just fine for all of us.
That's right.
So also when we were on the trail, outside of those yellow lines, if you remember, there was that one part that right before we got to the top, get really hard. I mean, really steep.
Yeah.
And it just seems like in life anyways, that why is it right before things before you reach where you're trying to go, your goals, it just gets really hard. So on this mountain, it wasn't any different. And as soon as we got to the really steep part, they put in handrails. Now on a mountain, you don't normally see handrails, but they put in handrails because they understand that one, when people walk up to the handrail, that maybe possibly they would stop and turn around and go back because it just looks too hard. And so they put the handrails in for people who could get over their fear because there was something there to help them, that it gave them a chance or a shot to actually get past that point, right? Pull themselves up. So I know for me, did you use a handrail? I know I didn't.
No, I didn't use a handrail. But if I needed to, I would have. But I didn't need to.
That's true. It was there for you.
Yeah,
just in case.
Just in case.
Exactly, and that's important. Now we won't talk about on the way down.
No,
but you know what, the handrail to me, when I think of it right out of the gate, and again back to the Entrepreneurs International, I think that's what the trainings do. And that's whether it's specific trainings like Secrets of Success or Communication Transformation or Stage Presence or the Big Show, whatever it is, that's what the handrail is. Or the ETA, which is more support on the handrail every week, so to speak, right? So people just need to take advantage of the handrail. Definitely want to do that by going to entrepreneursinternational.com. That's a great place to know where the trainings are and keep up with that. Also, we have Communication Transformation that is going to be coming up. So what you can do is go to ei-ct.com and check that out. And then follow us on social media. You know, we have, I don't know, thousands of social media outlets that you can be a part of. But check us out, obviously, Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest and LinkedIn and Instagram and et cetera, at Entrepreneurs International. That's how you can find us there. So do that. And that's all part of the handrail, plugging in and taking advantage of it.
Absolutely. Is there anything you want to say?
Well, those trainings, and I just thought about it, not only does it teach about the handrail, but also it'll help you to not quit before you get to that top. And I was thinking about that one dude that went right before it was going like this, according to you. Pretty steep.
It was pretty steep.
But right at that point, I mean, I look over, there's this dude bent over, like pouring down sweat. I'm like, he's never gonna make it. He's never gonna make it up this hill. And then before you know it, he stood up, he's like, I'm good. Grabbed onto that rail and cruised up. And he could have easily turned around and gone back down. But it just reminded me of plugging into our system, getting that extra motivation. And oftentimes that's what it's gonna take. And that's what I thought when I saw that one dude pull it off. It's pretty cool.
For sure.
Absolutely. Well, that was our first show, guys. I know, I loved it. And it was so much fun. So I'm looking forward.
First show.
And you know what? First show, and it was a lot like climbing that mountain right there. We're looking at it now. The view looks pretty good, so it was a lot of fun, and looking forward to more.
Absolutely. So until next time, thank you for joining us, and we will see you on the next Just Black and White.
So we get to the top of the mountain, and I look right over the ridge at the top, and I look, and there's a tram that goes to the top. And at first I'm like, oh, that's so funny. We could have just taken a tram. But of course I would never do that because the whole adventure would be taken away. And I think that's what so many people are looking to do, is to take the shortcut to get to the top of things, Success Mountain or whatever you want to call it. But it's the adventure, it's the hike, it's the sweat, it's the work. That's what makes it way more satisfying to be at the top. Now I understand that there's reasons why maybe physically some folks have to take the tram. You know, beautiful view, I'm sure that was awesome. They get here, they still see what I see. But I guarantee you the view is always way better when you know that you've worked to get to the top instead of taking a shortcut to the top.
just at the top of the mountain, celebrating the thrill of making it to the top, and what that's the exhilaration of the climb. And you enjoy those moments and that view. But then, of course, on the way back, what does it do? Start pouring down rain. And that's what also happens. So while you can have a moment of victory, celebration, and enjoyment, at the next moment, it just rains. And it just rains and rains. And no matter what happens, whether it's sunny or you're at the top enjoying the view, or it's raining and you're getting soaked, enjoy the ride. Enjoy the climb. See ya.